Welcome back, Raider Nation. It's Joseph here for Zenny62. With most of Raider Nation salivating over the possibility of Aaron Rodgers coming to the Raiders, I happen to not be one of them. One of the things that we have to think is whether or not he even wants to play, maybe in 2 years. Do we go with and spend so much draft capital on getting Aaron Rodgers for a player who may or may not want to invest fully into playing with the Raiders? Now, we see what a big ego he has with Green Bay not showing up for OTAs and haphazardly going through, training camp. Will this be an issue with the Raiders, and will the philosophy fix well with Josh McDaniels? According to reports, that was the issue, according to David Carr, who we know Derek Carr kind of funnels everything through, at least that's what it appears to be, that David Carr said that there was a philosophical difference between what Derek Carr wanted to bring with the Raiders offense and Josh McDaniels. And so we don't know if that's going to be an issue with Aaron Rodgers, who seems to want to do what he wants to do. And we have Josh McDaniels, who wants to do what he wants to do and not often budges from that and has a set system in his mind what he wants to move forward with. And so that's another thing to think about with Aaron Rodgers, with the possibility of him coming over. But again, the dedication may or may not be there. He might rise from his shelter-in-place situation tomorrow, Saturday, and decide that he doesn't want to play football, so what's our alternative? But for the sake of this video, let's focus just on Aaron Rodgers. I personally think he would be more of a distraction to the Raiders than anything else. And then the other thing that you got to think about is that how many times that Derek Carr was teased or maybe ridiculed that he was a little soft and too much of a church boy. Well, they have somewhat opposite with Aaron Rodgers, who and came out as an anti-vaxxer, who believes in right-wing politics. Well, that'd be a distraction maybe for some of the players or some of the fans. Now, that whole anti-vaxxer situation, once he got a lot of heat from that, and then he backtracked and said that he was allergic to one of the medications or one of the properties in the vaccine. But again, my concern is when you deal with a lot of these right-wing politicians or people who believe in right-wing politics, they tend to have this negative view about minorities and people of color. Do I necessarily think that's the case from Aaron Rodgers? Possibly not. But it's what you think in your mind about those people that you may not always reflect or say to them in person to their face. Right? So that always bugs me as a person. And the big, again, I said, in the big scheme of things, people probably won't even care as long as your team's winning, right? And that's unfortunately the case with a lot of people. Let's hide and push things under the rug because as long as we have a great quarterback, that's all that matters. And maybe that's all that should matter, but not to me. But that seems never to be an issue when it comes to players high caliber, though. With coaches or teams, how many times do we see teams sign players who had a very sketchy background, but because they have the ability to play, that was overlooked? So that may be the possibility when it comes to the Raiders situation and his belief systems. But how will that affect Raider Nation as a whole? Will the fans be upset by some of his remarks or antics? So even if we put all those issues aside, because I know a lot of people just don't like dealing with that and it's all about football for them, again, we got to go back whether or not he will be a distraction to the team. We know that Aaron Rodgers, again reiterating, had some issues in Green Bay, didn't want to participate in some of the OTAs or some of the team activities. And we know that he has a big ego. And maybe players of that caliber maybe have to have a big ego, or a lot of them display a big ego. But again, will that be a distraction? Will that be the issue that makes this marriage potentially between the Raiders and the new Raider regime with Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, be an issue? I just don't see it possibly working out that well. And I would be more than happy to be completely wrong. Because obviously all of us who are Raider fans would love for that to be a very successful marriage if it does happen. But again, how much draft capital do we give up to have somebody who may not be in it fully and who will only be with us maybe a year, maybe 2 years max? And we use all that draft capital, we don't get some of the necessary picks that we need in defense or another quarterback to groom for the future. Just some thoughts. Keep it here on Zenny62. Let me know about your comments. I'm sure I'll get a lot, especially about some of the politic issues that I brought up. But either way, let me know. Keep it here on Zenny62. Don't forget to like and subscribe.